As people interested in geography and nature, it is usually quite easy to nail a country's or region's geography with just a single word. Switzerland, mountains. Qatar, desert. And Borneo, rainforest. But doing the same exercise for the golden state of the US, California, too many beautiful and dramatic landscapes, national parks, mountains, deserts, and coastlines are popping up, so perhaps the only correct word to describe its geography is diversity. To truly appreciate California's incredible scale and variety, let's embark on an all-encompassing journey around the Central Valley, beginning in the Colorado Desert, where the sands of the Sonoran Desert are crossing the Mexican border. Chapter 1. The Colorado Desert. Characterized by extreme aridity, the Colorado Desert is the classic image of the Wild West. Dry scrublands and sandstone monoliths are standing in front of a dramatic mountain backdrop in almost every direction. While the Colorado River, which lends its name to the desert, only flows along the eastern flanks where it marks the state border to Arizona, it has actually had a significant impact on the desert's history and geography. Approximately 90% of the water which makes its way to the Imperial Dam of the Colorado River is being diverted into the Imperial and Coachella valleys, supplying 100 miles of lush fields with irrigation water and mocking Mother Nature in the meantime. Since the early 20th century, 3 major canals have carried the Colorado River water across the desert, but such defiance of the natural order doesn't come without its consequences. As a result of a dam breach over a century ago, the man-made Salton Sea has formed in the center of the valley, which has since been kept alive by excess canal water and irrigation runoff. Since this water is contaminated from the farming runoff, a crust of salts, trace metals and pesticides is now surrounding the lakeshore, and the winds blowing across the valley can sometimes make these pollutants airborne, creating hazardous dust storms. Luckily though, at 72 meters or 236 feet below the sea level, and surrounded by mountains, the valley's geography helps shield the neighboring Mojave Desert from these problems. Chapter 2. The Mojave Desert. Behind the Joshua Tree National Park to the north, the second major desert of California opens up, and even though they are in such close proximity, there are some very distinct differences. Although only a thin mountain range separates the two deserts, the rain shadow effect from the Sierra Nevada and transverse ranges is much stronger in the Mojave. This can be seen with the summer monsoon clouds, for example, which come in through the Gulf of California and provide an occasional rainfall to the Sonoran Desert. With the Orocapia and Little San Bernardino Mountains in the way, however, not even these clouds reach the Mojave Desert. While areas south of the mountains receive around 200 millimeters of rain annually, the core of the Mojave Desert gets as little as 40, so vegetation becomes even more sparse here. Mainly, the Joshua tree thrives in the desert elevation between 600 and 1,200 meters. But despite this elevation, dramatic mountainscapes tower along the horizon almost everywhere you look. Especially in the northern half, these ridges typically run in a northerly-southerly direction, where millions of years of tectonic stretching and faulting have built the up to 3,350 meter or 11,000 feet tall mountains, while also sinking the adjoining desert floor. The dramatic landscape creates pockets of intense aridity, where salt flats and alluvial fans from ancient lakes make the land even more forbidding. Well over 100 years ago, the village of Furnace Creek actually experienced the highest natural temperature ever recorded on planet Earth, where on a fateful Thursday afternoon, the temperature rose to 56.7 degrees Celsius or 134.1 degrees Fahrenheit. By then, the valley was already known as Death Valley, and the national park which has been established around it in the late 20th century doesn't just contain the hottest place on Earth, but also the lowest depression of the continent. Sitting another 14 meters below the shores of Salton Sea, Badwater Basin reaches a low point of 86 meters below sea level, making Death Valley a place of true extremes. But the mountains surrounding it also hold their own records. Chapter 3. The Sierra Nevada. Just 130 kilometers west of this extreme point, the Sierra Nevada mountains are reaching for the opposite extreme, demarcating the western flank of the Mojave Desert and extending all the way into northern California. The Sierra Nevada are drawing the eastern wall around the Central Valley, and within this massive mountain range, the tallest summit of the contiguous United States soars in the clouds. The extremely jagged ridgeline of Mount Whitney stands at 14,500 feet, or 4,420 meters above sea level, and is caused by a massive block of granite that is anchored in the surrounding fault system, penetrating the surface. The mountain range as a whole extends for 640 kilometers, or 400 miles north to south, and next to Mount Whitney houses an additional 11 14ers, meaning mountain peaks above 14,000 feet in elevation, easily putting the state into S tier for high alpine mountaineering, alongside Colorado, Washington, and Alaska. Yet perhaps the most famous aspect of the Sierra Nevada is not its peaks, but the vast forests that fill its valleys and slopes. From the Sequoia National Park in the south, to the Sierra Stanislaus, Tahoe, Plumas, and Lassen National Forests, these valleys and granite outcrops are home to some of the world's most remarkable trees. The most famous of these is easily the General Sherman in the Sequoia National Park, standing at a proud height of 84 meters, and with a circumference of 31 meters. It is the most voluminous tree on the planet, but the records don't stop here. A different specimen of the same species, just a couple miles to the east, holds the record for the thickest limbs, while a bristlecone pine in the Inyo National Forest has sprouted its roots over 4,800 years ago in the center of the White Mountains, making it the oldest currently living tree in the world. Staying within the topic of geographic records, straddling the border between California and Nevada, Lake Tahoe is the largest alpine lake of North America, and with a basin depth of 501 meters, its volume only falls short of the Great Lakes. Having reached the upper third of California now, and being surrounded by an alpine topography, the climate has shifted dramatically from the southerly deserts, and the annual climate graph is more comparable to temperate European climates found in the Netherlands or northern Germany, with one very notable difference. While temperature and precipitation is nearly identical, the annual snowfall is one of the highest in the world when comparing it to other populated places, and the 180 inches or 4.5 meters of snow actually far exceed the snowiest major cities of Canada by almost a meter. This climate has turned the mountains around Lake Tahoe into a winter sports hotspot, and sets the tone for what we can expect around California's northernmost region, bringing us to Chapter 4, the Northern Mountains. As the tall ridges of the Sierra Nevada fade, the high elevation stays, forming the 1 million acre large Modoc Plateau. Looking at a rock-type map of California, a drastic shift takes place here, with the old metamorphic rock of the Sierra Nevada being replaced by young igneous rock, spanning the whole northeastern corner of the state. Metamorphic here means that the rock has formed out of previous rock through pressure and chemical processes, while igneous can be considered as first-generation rock, from magma which has protruded Earth's surface. The pyroclastic fragments and tuff beds across the volcanic tableland are another visual proof of this shift, and the influence of volcanoes becomes even more pronounced as we head west. Rising on the western flanks of the highlands, the Cascade Range forms a significant boundary between the Pacific coast and the interior of the United States, housing some of the Earth's most famous volcanoes, like Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier, and Mount Hood in Oregon and Washington. The Californian section also has some impressive features to offer though, with the flanks of the tallest active stratovolcano, Mount Shasta, accommodating two massive glacial arms hugging the mountain. While global warming is usually a slow but certain death sentence to glaciers, the Whitney and Hutlam glaciers seem to defy the norm here. Despite rising temperatures over the past 150 years, increased snowfall has allowed the Whitney and Hutlam glaciers to grow, making them among the few glaciers worldwide that are currently expanding. The mechanism responsible for these stratovolcanoes scattering the landscape is the Cascadia Subduction Zone, just offshore of the Klamath Mountains, the neighboring mountain range to the west. Deep underground, a triple junction of the Gorda, Pacific, and North American tectonic plate has created a highly unstable environment. All three plates are moving into different directions, creating a network of subduction and transform faults, where tectonic friction is building up a long overdue thrust, which will eventually shake up the region. The last large earthquake here has been over 300 years ago, and now regular small tremors are possibly foreshadowing what is to come. From the triple junction near Eureka, the world-famous San Andreas Fault marks the boundary between the Pacific and North American plates, leading us to the final major mountain range of our journey and to Chapter 5, the Coastal Ranges. Drawing an arc through the state of California, the San Andreas Fault is a massive transform boundary, which has been the cause for countless earthquakes, but also a large-scale uplift of the land across its 800-mile or 1,200-kilometer extent to the Gulf of California. Running along the San Andreas eastern edge, the coastal ranges are forming the final enclosure to the Central Valley, and the two constituting sub-ranges in the north and the south slowly transition the climate back to the aridity that our journey started with. Within the northern range, an east-west division is marked by the Eel and Russian River, which occupy the broad valley in between them, and several valley pockets are nestled throughout the heavily forested mountain slopes. Many of these are filled with the snow runoff of the surrounding summits, and the largest one of these, called Clear Lake, occupies an elevated basin at around 420 meters above the sea level. According to the US Geological Survey, which has extensively analyzed the sediment core samples of the lake bottom in the 70s, it is actually the oldest lake of the North American continent. Resting on stable bedrock and maintaining a delicate balance between sedimentation and subsidence, Clear Lake has held water continuously for an astonishing 475,000 years now. The only outflow of this lake directs the water towards the east, where it merges with nearly all other streams that find their way into the Central Valley. And once the main stems of the Sacramento and San Joaquin rivers are combined, they find a gap between the northern and southern coastal range and fill a massive basin between the mountain ranges. The entire system spans 90 kilometers north to south, and over 70 kilometers from the river's mouth to San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge, which marks the boundary to the Pacific Ocean. This far-spanning wetland was once part of Lake Corcoran, an ancient lake which occupied the Central Valley. Once tectonic shifts and erosion broke through the Golden Gate, however, the whole section turned into a riverbed which drained the lake. During the ice ages, shifting sea levels repeatedly transformed the region from dry plain to estuary, leading to today's shallow bay, where most areas outside the main channel are just a few meters deep. These shallow shore areas now host mudflats that are vital for the Pacific Flyway, supporting millions of migratory birds each year. On both sides of the San Francisco Bay, behind the headquarters of the most influential tech companies in the world, the Californian coastal ranges continue their parallel ridges all the way down to California's most populous city. The climate here shifts again from the warm Mediterranean climate of northern and central California back to the aridity which has defined the deserts from the beginning of our journey. A total of 18.5 million people, spread over 13 cities surpassing the 100,000 inhabitants mark, are settled within the Los Angeles Basin, which is surrounded by mountains and the Pacific Ocean on all sides. And from the southern outskirts, it is a mere 1-hour drive past the San Little Bernardino Mountains for us to have come full circle around California, and we are back in the desert heat of the Coachella Valley. As a whole, California is a true epitome of geographical diversity, covering everything from the snowiest mountains to the driest valleys, from lush forests to prosperous wetlands, and from active stratovolcanoes to salt lakes, and the most influential metropolitan areas in the world. I hope you enjoyed this round trip through what I consider the most exciting state in the US. If you want to learn more about California's neighbor to the east, I can recommend this video about the geography of the Rocky Mountains, or watch what YouTube thinks is best for you here. If you want to further support the work I'm doing for this channel here, you can now leave a small donation at my Buy Me a Coffee page with the link in the description or in the middle of the screen right now. See you in the next one. Cheers.